I wish more of the world saw it, because the first thing you think about on the south side of Chicago is gangs and violence. Sometimes that misconception of a space helps us. I get to get a house for $200,000 that's 5 bedrooms.
Ladies dress all up to go to O-Block.
If you can get through them high school years and not mess your life up, this world can be your oyster.
They don't believe they're gonna make it to 21 years of age.
So Instagram, in a way, is the new graffiti.
Politicians and people who are good at making money understand that that'll pull coin from us.
So South Side is this also?
Even the gang problem, it didn't just pop out of nowhere.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. And I pass by here all the time.
Now we're getting ready to be on the street where the United States president's house is. Everybody wants their kids to do better than they did. Everybody wants to go to sleep and wake up with an opportunity, and it's the same on the South Side.
Dilla, what's going
Welcome
on?
to Chicago. Well, we're at the 97th annual Bud Billiken Parade. It happens to be the largest African-American parade run in this country.
So today we're gonna get into it. We're in South Side. We're gonna see all different corners of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only are we on the South Side, but we're really in the place which was the only place that black people could live in on the South Side. We call this place Bronzeville. So from like 1874 to 1940. This was it because of the racial covenants. And so this is the black culture of the city. This is the black metropolis we're in right now.
So these are sweet old houses. They're really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the ones are new, but the older ones were former mansions constructed for grain merchants. Right, so this used to be a German Jewish neighborhood. And the cool thing about the Jewish homies is they didn't mind renting to the brothers. And so as they moved out, they shared their space with African Americans. And so what was first a Jewish neighborhood became an African American neighborhood.
Jewish homies and blacks got along okay, you're saying?
Oh my God, not only did they get along okay, but in many instances, because the Jewish homies could change their names, they could climb the structure higher and they would bring the brothers with them.
Dilla, for those that don't know, your profession.
I'm most known as Chicago's urban historian. I'm also a high voltage electrician for the light company. And I guess my most important job is I'm a father of 7 and a husband. I wish more of the world saw it, because the first thing you think about on the south side of Chicago is gangs and violence.
Yep.
And this has been going on for 97 years, right? To see people, black people, brown people, white people, Jewish people, Italian people, hanging out on the south side of Chicago, celebrating our city. It's amazing. It makes me feel very proud.
Oh, they're fired up. They're fired up. We got the dancers. We got the smoke from the grills over here. All the guys. We got a Lakers hat in the house. That's a bit surprising.
Is it St. Lakers anywhere? Oh.
I thought I was in Chicago, but.
It's only purple and gold, but that's it.
Okay, you're trying to match. You're trying to match. Okay, gotcha. And I gotta say, this is some seriously impressive architecture here.
Our Louis Armstrong house, family friend still owns it. So that's why it's the horns in the window. One of those horns is his. The family friend got it from Leo Hart and Armstrong.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. And I pass by here all the time.
That's one of the things I wanted to make sure, like the duplexity of our communities. I'm sure the kids that attend Irvin Mollinson Elementary right here have no idea that their school's on the block that Louis Armstrong grew up on.
A lot of locals have no clue.
No clue. We just was walking with somebody, right?
Right.
No clue. And so some of that affects us moving forward. Because when you're aware that you're on sacred grounds, you act differently. Even the gang problem, it didn't just pop out of nowhere, right? There's no such thing in America as black gangs in integrated neighborhoods. How do I know what's their gang names? The Bloods, that's what black people will call each other. What's up, Blood? If it's an integrated neighborhood, the Irish dude's gonna say, we gotta have a new name. We don't refer to ourselves as Blood, right? The Black Disciples, the Latin Kings. All these American street gangs form in segregated neighborhoods. And so that's why we have crime on the south side of Chicago. We segregated black people in this space, and then we provided no resources, and to protect themselves, they formed gangs. And in those gangs, the scariest dude's gonna become the leader, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the scariest dude ain't the best leader. But none of that happens if you don't segregate and remove these resources from people.
Okay, so I want to get in that today, like in some of the neighborhoods in Southside we go to. I want to dive deeper on that topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's what everyone has on their minds.
Anytime.
Like the majority of murders are in Southside, right?
Yeah.
And so we have this in Southside, but we also have many different stories.
Even
and we
that,
got to understand it better.
We are 300-400 murders a year under what the 90s were.
Yeah.
Right? So why isn't that looked at as progress? We're doing better than we did the previous decades. So ain't that progress? 0 would be the number of murders I want. Hey, 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 hey. This is the greatest city on earth. Do these kids not look like they care about their community? Nobody's getting paid to be out here. You pay to get in the parade.
So first impressions, that's what I feel, community.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. I feel charged down here. Like, everywhere has its problems, obviously, but there's something that exists here that I didn't feel on the north side of the city.
No, it's an honor to meet y'all, man. Like I said, I seen y'all shirt. I was just telling him, like, when I see stuff I believe in, I want to, like, pour into that, man. So it would be on me. I would love to take you guys on a neighborhood tour.
So Dilla, right?
That's me.
We deal with very high-risk youth children. We took them to Springfield, and so they've got to experience the state capitol and a whole nother city within their state that they've never been to.
Yeah.
So what you do is very important. It was beautiful to me to take them to Springfield because what they got to do is not have to be in the streets of Chicago and look over their shoulders every day. And so guess what I got to see? I got to see kids again. But as we were driving back to Chicago, I saw little soldiers. I saw them putting back on their armor, getting ready for these tough streets, and it broke my whole heart.
Yeah.
And so we got to work together to get this, for them to expose them to different things, to let them to know the city is just not as they know it on their
Man, and not just that, it's a small amount of time that you got to survive. If you can get through them high school years and not mess your life up, this world can be your oyster.
You know what's so crazy that you say that? Because my kids, when they talk to me, they are hopeless. And so they don't have that. They don't believe they're gonna make it to 21 years.
They're hopeless.
They don't believe they're gonna make it to 21 years of age. And so when you talk about that, that's absolutely certain. We gotta get them to have faith and belief that they can make it to 21.
That's it. And
Some of my kids told me they want to go to college. Oh my God, I'm doing everything in the world.
And it's a travesty to have like all these resources and they don't go nowhere. And so like I got friends, it's programs so that I don't think that they know that.
They don't.
Right. Give me my number, bro.
Ma'am, what's your program here?
We are ex-cons for community and social change. We do street intervention work. We work with high-risk youth. We intervene, to stop violence. We also do workforce and we do reentry.
Okay, how's it going right now? How are things in Chicago 2023? What would you say?
Unfortunately, 2023, it could be a lot more done for children. We're focused on the population that just got here, and we're not focused on the population that's been here.
What do you mean just got the population that just got here?
I'm talking about migrants. You give them millions of dollars, and I have little black homeless children that have been here. And I'm not saying they don't deserve help, but I'm saying, how about helping the people that are here first? How about that? Just a little bit. Just to even give them some belief that, guess what? Things could be different for them in their life. While you're showing them every day on TV that something's different for people who've just gotten here in their lives. Tell me, how is it that people that just got here have cars? How do they have cars? And not just one car, multiple cars. And I don't see them working.
What you do for the company?
Go down on Roosevelt, go to any Home Depot, go anywhere, and you just see them just hanging out, congregating. Train up the people who are here, because I promise you, they want to work too. They need the resources to know that they exist in their communities to take them to the next step, which is to make them employable, help them to be able to get a job, help them to be able to sustain that job. That's what that looks like. We're not getting that in our communities as we need to, but the migrants are getting it first. And they'll say, oh, there have been programs forever. But if the people don't know about them, then are they really there to be helpful?
In the immigrant situation, they're doing their standard tactic, which is divide and conquer. Because as opposed to worrying about the services that the immigrants are getting, we need to make the people pay for sending the services here. They're committing kidnapping. by taking immigrants in Texas and putting them on the bus and not getting their permission to be put on a bus, not getting their, and just shipping them any city, right?
Yeah, but guys, let me just step in here. What about Yuma, Arizona, or Eagle Pass or El Paso? They shouldn't have to take the brunt of all this situation.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Their communities get overrun. Hospitals, schools, every service, medical services.
They have set up services. They've set up welcoming centers for them to be able to register for the upcoming school year. But every child had to either have taken the vaccine or something.
Or even our residential.
As they talk about COVID is back on the rise, you haven't ensured that they have the vaccine while you made sure that all these parents had to go through that. So it's an unfair system.
Very much so.
I'm not saying that they don't have a need and that we shouldn't do something, but I'm saying that first where is the responsibility to the people who elected you to fix the problems that existed before they got here? Everything that happened to us first.
Yeah.
When do we ever get some repair first?
Yeah.
We've never had that opportunity to get any repair first. And yet now we have migrants here that you put before us. So as their numbers will grow and build up above black people that'll be working, that'll be getting services, that'll be in school and all of these things, that black people will still be at the bottom of the totem pole. Where is that fair?
The migrant issue in Chicago is really tough because African Americans are kind of very pissed off because Rahm Emanuel, our previous mayor before Lightfoot, closed 52 schools. And we couldn't afford to keep them open, maintenance, that kind of stuff. And maybe 20 of them now are housing migrants that are being bused to Chicago. And the black communities are like, well, where are you finding that money to keep the building open? Who's doing the maintenance, right? You gotta have hot water, you gotta have plumbing. Like, where is that funding coming from to house them that wasn't there to educate us? And we're born here, right? That's been a common thing.
And what doesn't get told so well and is very confusing, because there's a lot to this situation, the majority are economic migrants.
Yeah.
You're gonna make $6,000 in Santiago, Chile. Maybe you're from Haitian, Cuban, whatever background, you can go make 35, 40 in the US. Why wouldn't you do it? I would do it.
Right.
Like, I don't give them shit for going for it. I would do the same thing.
Yeah, but I think it's how do we create a pathway that's equitable to those of us who are here already, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's like if we had our house totally in order, like the test scores were amazing in the schools here, all the resources were there, everyone was tracked into great employment. Yeah, taking everyone then, maybe.
Even taking it as a descendant of chattel slavery. If you mention that my parents couldn't buy a house because of redlining or something like that, right? Then it's like, oh, get over it. But then, like I said, I understand the sentiment of, for generations I've been struggling, and now somebody can arrive here, not born here, not a citizen, and they can kind of jump ahead of me. I do think if we focus more on getting our house in order, then that'll become a byproduct of getting our house in order, right? Like, I don't think that should be the singular focal point of what Black Chicagoans should be focused on. We should be focusing on pending gentrification in certain neighborhoods and how we implement rent controls to where you can only charge so much so that you're not pricing out the people that have made the community what it is.
Can we show some of those areas today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Gresham. It was originally an Irish and Italian neighborhood. White flight changed the demographics. So
when was white flight here?
In Chicago, white flight started in 1951 and lasted till about King's assassination. And after King was assassinated, you gotta call it like white jet. It wasn't even white flight no more. Like that next day, it was not very many white people on the south side anymore.
Because of crime or what?
Well, after King was assassinated, right, there was a riot. And so after the riots, people packed up and left. But some of the most amazing architecture, we live in a bungalow. It's a particular Chicago style of housing known worldwide. Block we finna drive down now. Shaka Khan went to that high school. If you're a baseball fan, Kirby Puckett went to Calumet High School. I went to Calumet High School. Kanye West has a song. He says his friend lived on 81st and May down the street from Calumet, the School for the Stones. So this school was primarily inhabited by like the Black Stones. It's a Chicago street gang.
So we've been in Southside the whole time.
We have not left Southside.
Okay, from the parade. So when we went by the stadium, that was Southside.
Yeah.
So you were saying off camera, it goes like blocks of really nice neighborhoods, and then Blight, and then nice, and then.
Yep. Every couple blocks, you know, at 2 blocks, you can go from $500,000 homes to blocks with 2 houses on it and a bunch of vacant lots.
It's a nice neighborhood, though.
We live in a pretty decent pocket.
What do these houses cost, do you think?
My house is $200,000.
Now they're $200,000.
Yeah, my house was built 1920 and it was $6,000 brand new. I'm great, how are you?
Everyone know everyone?
Yeah, mostly. How long y'all been on the block?
38.
So I'm the newbie. I've been on the block, I don't know, 6 years, right?
You guys accept them yet?
We've been accepting him. We love him.
Likewise. Sometimes that misconception of a space helps us, right? Because people think the South Side is shit. I get to get a house for $200,000 that's 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, finished basement, 2-car garage, walkout basement.
So people can have a normal blue-collar job here, buy a home, American dream type life.
Yeah, that's it. And the 3rd largest city in the world that has off-Broadway, that has arts, that has museums, the Northwestern hospitals, you know, top 10 in the country. We got high schools that are top 10 in the country, in the city of Chicago, not in the suburbs. Our railroad infrastructure, right? Our CTA, our public transit, top 2 in the country. Though we're not even in the top 5 of cost of living, and we're in top 3 population, right? Like how does that equate? It's impossible. But
yeah, you're top 3 population in the country, and then cost of living, you're way down there.
Way down there, but
But I will say, when I had to pay tax at the grocery store, that didn't feel good.
Oh man.
That was weird.
Yeah, it's in Cook County, it's 10% sale tax too. But even how I look at that, it sucks that I pay taxes. There's 2.5 million people here, and so we all gotta help each other. And that extra 50 cents gets on my nerves when I'm buying something for $5. But also, right now we're dealing with a migrant situation that we didn't create. That I know those taxes are helping to support. Right, that my 50 cents may be the difference between people beefing over a space because taxes are helping to mitigate those type of situations. So I look at it more of we need to be changing the wages of what people make, and then that tax thing ain't gonna matter so much, right? Like if we change the dollar amount of what we paying people per hour, right, then they don't feel that much of the tax.
Dilla, so we're just giving your dog a little break here, but what's going on with the food situation?
Oh man, so this black-owned place called Ain't She Sweet? Oh, She's Sweet, and they make these salmon egg rolls. So first of all, who knew that you can put salmon in an egg roll? But you gotta have one, brother.
All right. Oh yeah.
Great, right? You immediately want to bite it again.
That's awesome.
They try to get locally sourced stuff, right? So they go to rural areas, and the spinach comes from rural farms. It's really, really a cool place. And it's in the hood, which is amazing.
So Dilla, you call this the hood?
Yeah, I think most people would. It's my neighborhood, and I love it, but most people would say I live in the hood, right?
So when you're on YouTube and you see these drive-by shootings and whatnot, is that taking place here or no?
Yeah, there are. You know,
it happens.
Yeah, I think the worst thing we can do is not be honest about what we're facing. And this neighborhood's called Auburn Gresham, and it certainly has a higher than normal violence due to gunshots, you know, statistics over here for sure.
So you feel fine though walking around here anytime, day or night?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. I feel fine. I don't know if I feel fine with my kids walking day or night.
But right now, yeah?
Yeah, right now, yeah.
So most of it's like hardworking, blue-collar neighborhood?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Older Chicagoans, knocking on retirement, a lot of teachers, a lot of firemen.
So it's hard for an outsider to totally get it because the aesthetics, everything looks good. It's pretty well taken care of. Everyone's got a nice green lawn, but it's just things could happen.
Yeah, it's the internet, right? In my generation, if 2 gangs were warring with each other, some dude would go spray paint the gang and then that gang's name on a wall. But in the name of social media, you can get on Instagram and you can disrespect the other gang, right, on your reels. But the difference now is they see your face, right? So you become an easier target to acquire.
Oh, interesting. So Instagram, in a way, is the new graffiti.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Instagram and
No
YouTube
way.
is the new graffiti.
Well, I don't see graffiti anywhere.
They don't waste their time going to spray paint the name of their gang or their hood or their set or any of that, right? Like, they project it online so that more people can see.
Does Instagram's algorithm suppress these types of videos or not
no,
really?
I think it sadly promotes them, right? Because what's the saying? You know, no one looks away from a train wreck. People outside of Chicago will look at these two people beefing and almost cheer them on, right? That's the etymology of drill music. So drill music is a hip hop genre. It finds its origins here in Chicago. So drill music is created in Chicago. It's found now in South Africa, London, New York, everywhere, right? And it sadly is rooted in you being able to articulate your disrespect for the other side in a rhythmic pattern, right? So like you can rap. And so if I'm saying gang, but you can rap, you can say my gang a little cleverer, right? And then how you're saying it so clever is making more people watch. And so now I'm mad that you got the world teasing me. And so now I really want to come shoot you.
Okay.
Right?
So if I'm listening to some drill music, and I'm not from Chi-Town, I have no clue what's going on.
Right. You're missing it all.
With the inner beef.
Yeah.
But imagine if one of those guys from the rival gang hears me listening to that rival gang music, they're just like, what the F?
Oh, so that does occur, right? And that's the sad part about it because you're from Baltimore, you're from Italy, you're from Germany, you're from Ireland, you're from whatever. You come to Chicago, you love this catchy song from Chicago, but you don't know that the names in these songs are real people that got killed, right? And so you're playing that music, even on your social pages. It sometimes can give the vantage point that you're siding with one side or another, right? And what that does is that hurts the economy of Chicago rap. Because since I understand the rules of it, right, and most kids in the city do, then that tampers the amount of streams you get. That tampers, right? I would play your music more, but I don't want people to think that I'm on your side of the gang, right? And so if we pulled even that part out of our music, both sides would rise up, right? Because you don't got to pick, you just enjoy the music. Like practically, I would tell my 16-year-old he can't be in a neighborhood that we call O Block. He can't play FBG Ducks music on O Block, and he can't play O Block music on the blocks that FBG Duck guys hang out. But both sides make very creative, artistic music, right?
O Block is the projects here.
So O Block is the cultural name that we give in this space called Parkway Gardens.
Okay.
And we're gonna go by there in just a few.
Your old job, we just went by a power transfer center. What was it?
Yeah, so that was a substation, 138,000 volt substation, Power Chicago.
So do you miss that though, doing that stuff?
Oh man, it's an immediate sense of gratification. What we did was just like restore emergency power, or if a rat chewed through a power line and then that building would lose power and somebody be stuck in the elevator. And so our job would be to come find out which line got chewed through, isolate it, and then put the building on its emergency power, man. And ain't nothing like doing that and it's kids stuck in that elevator. And so once you do your job and then you hear the power kick up, then boom, like the elevator comes down, people in the lobby clapping, man. Like it was a great feeling. And it was like a feeling I got every other day because it's 2.5 million people in Chicago. It's, you know, a lot of buildings, a lot of property. And so every building that loses power doesn't make the news, but something's losing power every day just because stuff is old, right? You know, if equipment fails. If the Chicago Marathon's running, we used to go through with counterterrorism folks and kind of show them where we thought was good hiding places for bombs, because who knows the city better than the utility guys, right? Like, it contributed to the fabric of society, and yet nobody really knows, right? Like,
Right, it's behind the scenes, totally, huh?
Yeah, it was really cool, man.
So why don't you do that anymore?
Because my social media channel took off, and downtown there are no power lines in the air, right? Most of it's underground. So sometimes I'd be crawling out of a manhole and a dude be standing there with his camera like, hey, ain't you Dilla, man? You know, you guys doing that TikTok? And so it started to get a little dangerous for our crews. But then also it's an inherently dangerous job. The minimum voltage of electricity I was around was 12,000 volts. So that's gonna kill you if you make a mistake. So there's no talking about that. And so also the light company here was like, you know, Chicago seems to like you, right? We don't want to be the dudes that take you out. So let's
They gave me a job now. I do digital content creation.
Cool.
Which I also like, right? Because one thing I'm doing is changing the channel. The channel used to only be kind of dimple in the chin, white dudes, right? And now I'm exposing minorities to the utility trades and the fact that you don't got to be an NBA player or NFL player to drive a Charger and have a nice house. You don't got to gangbang. You don't got to commit scams. You can go keep the lights on downtown and have a good life, man.
And so we'll leave it at the end of this video, but your links, because your TikTok, your Instagram are awesome. Full of historical nuggets here.
Right.
You also got the business in the bus we were in earlier.
Yep.
Touring people around Southside.
Yep.
So you're a busy man, and 7 kids, right?
That's job number 1. Now we're leaving out of Grand Crossing into Woodlawn, another very historic Southside neighborhood, working class, probably 90% black. The brown homies though are spread in out, which I think is cool as shit, man. Brown homies from other Chicago neighborhoods are pushing their boundaries, right? So what would be like this box of Mexican Americans, that box is widening into black spaces because as blacks leave the city or as blacks lose their property or as blacks whatever, the Mexican American homies bad at shit and fix that shit and boom.
So is the black population going down?
Yes, every year, 20-something thousand, 10-something thousand. It's a very substantial number of people. 2 reasons, right? If your neighbor's son get killed and you got kids, you're like, oh, f that, I don't want nothing to happen to my kids. We all live around what we eat and who we know and where we go to church and all that other kind of stuff. And anytime there needs to be a land grab in Chicago, they take it from black people. So what do I mean? It was a hospital, Michael Reese Hospital on the lakefront on the south side. And when they thought that they would bid for the 2016 Olympics, they knocked down a black hospital with a trauma center. The world now knows that Brazil bribed their way into those Olympics, so that's why it was in Brazil in 2016. The president had to retire as a whole ordeal. But Chicago knocked down a hospital in a black neighborhood that had a trauma center for an attempted Olympics that they didn't even have in the bag, right? And so that displaced the hospital staff, that displaced people who were being treated by the hospital, right? But they also knocked down residential property that people lived in that worked at the hospital to create an Olympic village they didn't even have. Right? It was not guaranteed. You didn't get the bid. So that's another thing that drives African Americans out of Chicago. Like I said, Rahm Emanuel didn't close 52 schools in white neighborhoods or Mexican American neighborhoods. Like they were mostly in predominantly African American neighborhoods. And so now you're left with, do I make my kid take 7 buses to get to a school in another neighborhood where we don't know anybody? Or do I go live with my auntie in Houston now? Or do you know what I mean? Like, so you got to make the decision based off what's the best for you and your family, and I understand that. I do blame some people, though, like the me's of the world, right? You come up in Chicago, you play Little League baseball. Because of the city's programming, you get Little League and summer jobs and all this other shit. And then you go to college and then you get a good job. And then as soon as you come back, you immediately run in the suburbs and you don't pour into that pipeline that fed you. You don't coach the Little League. You don't have upward bound programs. You don't live in the city that raised you, right? So there's some of that too, like the me's of the world that have made it out owe it to those spaces to go back and live. Because it's the same problems in the suburbs too.
So you'll never leave here?
I don't think so. To my wife's chagrin. No, I think it's important that people who don't have dads in their houses in Chicago see a dad in a house yelling at his kids for not cutting the grass, and just normal Americana stuff. And I think I'm so successful because I had it, but not just that. Like my dad was a cop. My dad was probably one of 3 living fathers on the block. Right, not saying dudes didn't have dads. Maybe their dads lived somewhere else. They would visit them on the weekends, right? But there were 3 living dads on my block when I was a kid. My dad was one of them.
Out of how many?
It's 18 houses on each side of the street and 2 sides of the street, right? So out of 36.
36, and there's only 3, you said?
Yeah, that's 3 living dads. Wow, okay. Right? So out of those 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 living dads, though, he was a cop. Right? So I know 3 liv Right now, there are 4 dudes I grew up with that became cops, and if I call them and ask them why you become a cop, it's because I saw your dad pulling up in the squad car, bro, taking all this, taking all that, right? So I want to be that.
So people need that good example to that role model.
Don't steal my quote, man, but kids don't still take after strangers. So this is Corey Brooks' church. Let's see if he's here. You want to spin in here? This is the king of O Block.
Yeah.
You talking about perspective. And anytime the words O and block come out, there's a particular way to kiss the ring. The first way to do it is to come to the person who actually cares about the space, as opposed to being exploitative like everybody else does in the world. So before I even take somebody outside the gates of O Block to point and say crime and rap and this, I say, see what's being done, make that space just like every other space in America, and come meet the man, Corey Brooks. Man.
Corey, what's going on here right now?
We're having the world's largest baby shower. We got about 1,100 women with newborns and 6 months and under that we're going to bless with car seats, strollers, playpens, diapers, wipes, bath supplies, everything that a woman or a family would need to get a good start. So they're not financially crippled by having a baby. We want them to be in a position to where they can celebrate that. So that's what this is all about.
This is your organization?
So yes, our church, New Beginnings Church of Chicago, but we also have a non-for-profit called Project Hood, and we're building a $35 million center right across the street. And the center is all about bringing all of Woodline together. Those who know about our area, we're on the block that's famously called O Block, and named after O.D. Perry, a young man who was shot and killed. But I decided that we're going to keep the O, but we're going to change it to Opportunity Block. So we're creating opportunities for everybody in the neighborhood, and part of the building a community center is going to help that endeavor.
How are things going right now in 2023? What would you say?
It's going good for us. I mean, while other parts of the neighborhoods, other parts of the city of Chicago and the west side, south sides are experiencing spikes in violence, we've been able to bring the violence down in Woodline, which is amazing, being that Woodline is one of the key areas where a lot of the gang activity started in the 60s and 70s.
So O Block here in Woodline, the crime is actually going down right now.
For sure, without a doubt. You know, a lot of the guys that you see in here working now, they're from O Block, and some of the people that they used to call ops are in here working as well. And so we're teaching everybody that we got to get along. So,
what do you mean by ops?
People who used to fight one another. Okay. People who used to be at odds with one another. People who just didn't like each other because they lived on certain blocks. So we're trying to get rid of that whole mindset.
This is awesome. So everyone just comes together, helps out. They're all volunteering. They're all.
Yep.
How does it make you feel to see it like this?
Man, good, because that's what it's all about. You know, if a church is in a neighborhood and they're not changing the neighborhood for the better, what's the point? So I feel good that I know we're changing this neighborhood, and I know that people's lives are being transformed, and I believe that's what it's really all about.
So that's what he's building.
Oh, wow. Corey slept on the roof for 100 days?
Corey Brooks slept on the roof, for 100 days. In the winter, too, in tents and all that other kind of stuff.
Just to bring awareness?
Yeah, absolutely.
His heart's fully in it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So what's the story with O Block? I mean, you can see it on YouTube easily or hear about it.
Yeah, but that's only the half story, right? It doesn't tell you that this same land, literally the same footprint, was White City Amusement Park. It was an amusement park that forbid black people from going to it the entirety of its existence. And instead of staying open and letting black people go, they decided to close and knock down all the rides, right? So then in that same space, we build what we call Parkway Gardens is the official name of it, but culturally we call it O Block because of the death of O.D. Perry. But before it was public housing, it was a co-op, meaning like the people who lived there had ownership, right? So when you have ownership, some of the people who live there are gonna be employed reasonably, right? Some of the people who live there will get equity in owning their condo or their unit or whatever. And so when the 70s happened, the place fell on hard times like everything else in the 70s. And instead of giving them a loan like we do millions of companies all over the world, the city bought it, turned it into public housing, and didn't give a about it. And then they sold that public housing to a company that's in New York. So a Chicago building that's public housing is owned by a company in New York that gets the Chicago public housing dollars. And so they've made $200-300 million off of O-Block and only spent $2 million on security, no millions on job security, no millions on educating the people that live there, no millions on upgrading on their status or the apartments or none of that. So
That's a Chicago story, selling off your resources.
Yeah,
you know the
crazy.
parking meters,
Yeah,
Abu
I?
Dhabi. And then also there's a road that goes to a Canadian pension fund. I forget the name of it.
yeah, it's the South Chicago Tollway.
Yeah.
And the Canadian pension fund raises the price every year. So they make more money every single year. And like I said, we sold it for like pennies on the dollar too. It didn't make a big difference in what we were trying to accomplish at all. Yeah, we sold it.
Okay, so for those that don't know, like myself, O-Block, South Side, where we're at right now, one of the harder hitting areas of Chicago.
1,000%.
1,000%. Because I was in Inglewood the other day, that looked a little bit rougher, I gotta say. But give me the skinny on that.
I mean, I would say like, what did Tupac say? All around the world's the same song, right? So just like in other South Side neighborhoods, it's people that are active, right? But it's so complex when you grow up. It's complex, but it's simple, right? You're 6 years old. You grow up with your best friends in your apartment building, right? And both of you guys' moms work 2 jobs, so y'all taking care of each other, right? And then that guy gets influenced by a gang, but that's your friend. And so you guys grow up, and then somebody kills him. On every corner of the earth, a 17-year-old wants revenge, right? If you go to Indonesia, if you go to Iraq, if you go to Iran, and you kill one of them dude's friends, you might get killed. Their family might come back and kill you, right? And so then that happens. And so then we have this terrible cycle of back and forth, and no one intervenes. And then it kind of becomes this, he lived over here, he was one of us, right? And so if we don't go avenge him, then, if something happened to me, I would want somebody to avenge me. So in order to make sure that I go avenge, and it's on and on.
So, okay, let me put this into
and it's in a number of neighborhoods.
Let me put this into a foreign example. How long does the beef hold? For example, in the Balkans, with like Serbians and Albanians, it's like your great-grandfather killed my great-grandfather, I hate you type stuff. Where in Vietnam, the Americans destroyed the country not that long ago. You go there, it's like pro-American. They like let it go immediately. So how long does the beef stay between the 17-year-old's friend gets killed?
At a minimum.
A decade.
Right now, so the violence that Pastor Brooks says that he's mitigating now, he's mitigating violence that started a decade ago.
So what's the way out of this?
I think it's the youth. I think as you get at the 2nd graders, 3rd graders, 4th graders, and you explain conflict resolution to them. You explain, right, it's all these arguments about, again, people's personal business or sexuality or all that kind of stuff. If a kid can understand his fluidity at 5th grade, he can damn sure understand conflict mitigation. He can damn sure understand that if a guy disses you on YouTube, that doesn't mean you should shoot him the next time you see him, because you may regret that emotion, right? We can explain to people that logic forms later, and you're going to be emotional about some shit. So don't let the emotions of it get the better of you. It's a King Von mural.
Who's that?
Chicago rapper that was killed. You get out the way for the freaking police to get me.
I mean, walking around here during the days...
They are there to tour right now, and they're trying to find a member of O-Block that they could pay to walk them through so that they can Instagram and all that.
Oh, really?
Because this is a tourism destination because the hottest rappers on earth are from here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the ladies dress all up to go to O-Block?
And so now this treated like jail over there, right? You see, you got to show ID, you can't get in, yada yada yada. You got somebody lived there that got to walk.
There's
you
all
in
that
there
security.
Now. So it's 1,000% security, and that not securing the residents, securing people from getting in. So if you get shot on the inside of that, them dudes ain't finna get up and do shit. They're there to tell people they can't be in the lot, they can't come to O Block to take pictures. They don't want the tourists to get shot dealing with what's on the inside, but they don't give a shit about what's on the inside as a institution, right? Not that individual dude that's at work, but whatever company he works for ain't there to protect the residents of O Block. They're there so that if me and you walk across the street, that dude's gonna stop us from walking on the inside so that we don't get into no shit on the inside, so the inside doesn't look bad, right?
What do you think the residents of O Block think about all this? People outside taking selfies and me going by with a camera and that stuff?
Some of it, they feel very exploitative, right? Because it's like, why don't you come check out the schools that we were in that suck? Or what did your interest start and stop, right? Is it only to get views and get paid, or do you want to change this space at all, right? So it's some of that, but what there's, like I said, it's opportunity, right? And if we all look at it that way, what if you open a store on the corner that sells Little Dirk, Chief Keef, memorabilia, right? And them proceeds go to non-violent programs over there, right? The other thing is history. Because the modern civil rights era starts in this neighborhood. It's not like a gross statement. I'm not overreaching. The modern civil rights era of America starts in Woodlawn. Because most people think it's when Rosa Parks wouldn't give up her seat. But it's actually, if you ask Rosa Parks what she was thinking about, she said, I had Emmett Till on my mind. And so I'm taking you to Emmett Till's house. In August of 1955, Mamie Till sent her son to Money, Mississippi to visit relatives. And what's alleged is that he whistled at a white lady in a store. And what's not alleged is that white lady's husband came to his house in the middle of the night, kidnapped him, took him to a garage, beat, tortured, and killed Emmett Till. They tied an engine block to his feet and threw him in the Tallahassee River. The rope broke, his body floated to the top, and somebody found him. His body was sent back to Chicago, and his mother met the body at the train station. And instead of fainting, which was what I would have did, she demanded that they open the pine box. And once she saw his mutilated body, she demanded an open casket funeral because she wanted the world to see what happened to her baby. And then at Robert's Temple, they had that open casket funeral. And 2 Chicago publications, The Defender and Jet Magazine, published the photos. And those photos are what activates the modern civil rights era in this country. And because of the modern civil rights era, there's the gay rights era. There's women's rights eras. There are so many things that xenophobia has fought using the tools of civil rights, but it starts out of this house in a neighborhood that we should show more respect to than just some gangbanging, right?
How does this feel for you coming here?
Like sacred
as a
grounds,
Southsider,
right? Like
sacred grounds.
This is the last set of steps Emmett Till walked down alive in Chicago. He was 14, right? You know, at 14, I had a favorite pair of shoes. I had a basketball I loved. I had things I would have wanted to return to. And so when I come here, when I bring people here on tours, I acknowledge and understand that I get to walk up and down those stairs, and he never got to walk back up them for no other reason but being a black dude, right? 2 slick people were able to turn a statement, right, which is a statement of fact, Black Lives Do Matter, and turn it into something that is now being argued about why Black Lives Matter spent money. Like, I'm 1,000% in agreement to that. There's organizations dedicated to Black Lives Matter right now that can receive the money that folks sent to the organization of Black Lives Matter. And it's totally okay to have that kind of argument. What I hope doesn't happen is that because now there's an organization named that the statement no longer matters, that Black Lives do matter. It wasn't created to raise funding for anybody. It was created because if you're a black dude and you get pulled over by the police and you reach for the wallet that they told you to reach for, they can shoot you and nobody's gonna give a goddamn about it unless a store gets burned. And that should be the start and stop of it for me.
Okay, so when I see the BLM sign right now, or flag, to me, I have a negative response, because I think organization, I think 90 million or whatever million grift didn't go to any black communities. I see a lot of virtue signaling in upper white neighborhoods where People have the signs, and they think they're doing the right thing, I think, a lot of times, but I don't see the benefit for these neighborhoods.
Right.
But the statement, I'm 100% agree with.
That same concept can go with, right? I see a Confederate flag, I have a negative reaction to it because of what that represents to me. But someone else will say, no, bro, this is just my culture, right? So I think it's conducive to us all to maybe meet in the middle. This is the greatest example. My friend Spencer Gould shared it with me, man. And he said at the Morehouse graduation, they let the dude from Chick-fil-A speak. And he's known as this racist dude, you know what I'm saying? And Morehouse is this historic black college, right? That ain't finna let anybody talk. And anyway, he got up there and he said, I did this thing. I listened to my dad. And he said, my dad told me to work hard and I'd be rich. I worked hard now on Chick-fil-A. He said, my dad told me marry a good woman and my life would be good. I've been married to my wife so many years. He said, my dad told me that black people are inferior. And so it took me a long time to unlearn this thing because most of the stuff my dad told me is true. And so what that taught me was to leave space for people, man, because sometimes we're repeating stuff that we learned from a trusted source, and not everything that source says is right or correct or true. And not everybody that's flying a Black Lives Matter sign sent that lady or dude or whomever $50. Some people are legitimately flying it because they don't want to see white dudes shot down on the street, black dudes shot down on the street. And I think we need to talk about that too, right? Like there were immigrants from Italy who were Catholic who were lynched in the South solely because they were Catholic and Italian or Catholic and Irish. I think Irish dudes' lives matter. I think Italian dudes' lives matter. I think Catholic dudes' lives matter. But I also think the Catholic Church has been responsible for some really fucked up shit, right? But so it'd be fucked up to conflate the two sometimes. And I think politicians and people who are good at making money understand that that'll pull coin from us, and us semi-smart people gotta like not play into it, man, because at the end of the day, redlining created these vacant lots, and something like redlining created the vacant lots in the Appalachians too.
It's true, I was just there. They were paid in scrip, like the coal mining company's currency, and that's all they could spend.
So World War II happens, we got GI Bills, we come up with the FHA, right? FHA loans say that you, with a certain credit score, put 3% down and the government will fully back that loan. But it didn't apply to people in the Appalachians, and it didn't apply to people in black and brown neighborhoods. So because of that, you get these pockets. When you see a vacant lot in Chicago, please don't think why was nothing ever there. No, something was there, it got knocked down, and they never reinvested. And because we built the uniformity here, right? Like you see those two different buildings, but they kind of like it's the same building,
sure.
Right? So that's how Chicago lots were. So that thing was probably here, right? Let's say you're a good to do, I love everybody, white dude from Sweden that owns that building, right? But you own that building in a black neighborhood, so it's redlined, meaning you don't qualify for governmentally backed loans. And that tree falls on your building. How do you fix it? You can't. You don't qualify for a governmentally backed loan.
So, okay, correct me where I'm wrong here. The redlining was like 4 different tiers, right? There was A, B, C, D.
Right.
A would be the top tier, like the banks wanted to lend to those neighborhoods because they were good financial, socioeconomic status. Yeah. D being the worst.
Right.
So it wasn't necessarily like the Swedish guy could have had the tree go down on his house in this area.
And
he's screwed.
He's screwed.
So it's not necessarily a race thing, it's a socioeconomic.
It's the area got redlined, but who was the predominant demographic in the area, right?
Right.
So this area is 80% black, so that means forget this area. But what about the other people who ain't black that live here? That affected them too. So again, if you're this cool Swedish dude, you own that. That tree falls on your house in the red line area, you can't get a governmentally backed loan to pull the equity out to rebuild. What you gonna do? You're gonna knock it down, you're gonna take an insurance check, you're gonna move it to the sunset.
So redlining went away in what, 68?
No, redlining in Chicago didn't go away until 1987. What? Because, guess what we don't talk about when we talk about redlining? Also insurance. You could not make Allstate or State Farm make their policy writers write policy in black and brown neighborhoods, right?
Okay.
So then the second problem, If I'm in a neighborhood that's redlined in the 80s and I can only get rinky-dink insurance on that building and a fire happens, that rinky-dink insurance company bankrupts itself when I try to file my claim, and guess what? Another vacant lot. Every student in the world hates a 0 on their average, right? If you're trying to get an A, you need a bunch of 4s to get to a 4.0.
Yeah.
And if a teacher throws a 0 on there, you're all the way to a C. So what happens when you own this building today and you want to get a loan on it, but all these vacant lots are throwing zeros up on the values of this neighborhood? And so you could pay a whole 30-year mortgage off on it for $300,000, and it's only worth $330,000, but you've been paying interest for 30 years because you're not getting any equity because it's based off the value of across the street that has because of redlining.
Okay, now in 2023, is the reason your property price is such a value is because of redlining?
I think in 2023, redlining is why my house was as cheap as it was, absolutely.
Okay. Now redlining's gone completely, right?
Yes, I wouldn't say completely, but the new thing now is the assessment game. So right now, if I want to get a loan, an equity loan, I would take down all the pictures of my black family and put up pictures of you and your family.
Come on.
Swear to God.
Come on.
Swear to God. I would put up all the pictures of you and your family, and I get 40, 50 more G's out of my house than if I left it up with pictures of mine.
But when the appraisers do comps, when they do an appraiser, they're looking at the home, bedroom, beds, bath. They're not looking at the people there.
Yes, but there's a physical person in there that says something is of structure or not of structure. Something is in this pristine shape. Something.
Okay, but it's got to be some of the appraisers, not all of them.
That's another issue, right? I'm not saying every appraiser in the world is poo-pooing on the south side. I'm saying that also there's a trend. And so if a quarter of the appraisers are undervaluing black property and then you come in and overvalue, they may say you're a sucky appraiser. What are you doing different than these other guys, right? It permeates.
So this school here, Fisk Elementary, in a neighborhood like this, are there crime issues? Elementary, probably not, but a junior high, let's say, around here. What goes on, do you think?
I wouldn't say it happens in the school because sadly, it's so active. If you decide to jump off the porch young, you probably ain't gonna be in school long, right? Like, so if you jump off the porch, we say jump off the porch, man, you get active in the streets at 13, 14, you can't go to school. Like I said, it's different than, they still call this gang banging, and it ain't gang banging, right? It's something totally different because it's way more personal. Like I said, in the 80s and 90s, you watch Colors, right? The dude got a spray paint some shit, right? And you don't know who did it until somebody claimed they did it, and then I dissed you, motherfucker. And that's why it was so much gang violence in schools in the 90s, right? In Compton and other places. Okay. But like now, again, you just get on the internet and you talk your shit, and once you do that, somebody can go to your Instagram page. Like right now, I see this dude, I can pull his Instagram up. Is that the motherfucker? Oh yeah, that's him. And I can start shooting. I know exactly who the fuck I was trying to shoot. And so knowing that if they decide to get active, they don't stay in school long.
So literally 3 blocks, 4 blocks from O Block is this.
It's the University of Chicago where freaking sociology as a concept came up. I tell you something else that sucks, and they don't mind me saying it because they're working hard to change it, but from about 1900 to the mid-90s, the University of Chicago would actively tell its students not to cross Cottage Grove, which is the street we're on now that takes you into the black neighborhoods and that sort of thing, right? Now they understand that maybe college students living amongst people in urban settings, those college students can teach them different things and that'll lift the space up, and that's certainly what's happening, right? If you're a sociology student, why ain't you living in the hood to study the socioeconomics of the day?
Well, I think that's just a big problem in society in general is people are in their bubbles, and it's understandable. You work, you have families, schools, and you're just not understanding what it's like to bubble over, Yeah. That's beautiful.
That's the fucking armory. We can take a lap if you like.
God.
It's the Richard Jones Armory today. If you look up in the awning, you're gonna see that it was the 124th Artillery Armory back in the day for the National Guard. And it was built right before World War I, and you can tell that because of the uniform that the guards are wearing, right? So I'd say youngest soldier is this guy, and he's wearing World War I garb.
Okay,
right?
You can tell.
Yeah, so that's a World War I uniform. That's the youngest soldier, and that lets me know that this was an armory constructed pre-World War I.
Wow. Southside has so much history.
Man.
And
There's a Civil War Confederate monument on the south side of Chicago.
still standing.
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
What do people know it's there? Or what do they feel about it?
Most people do not know it's there. It's inside of a cemetery, right? So Camp Douglas, prisoner of war camp, was where General Grant sent Confederate prisoners. And he sent them all the way to Chicago because, right, how are they going to affect the war effort in Chicago if they're fighting in the battle lines in the South? And they had 60,000 prisoners there. About 6,000 of them died because of the bad conditions. So they were put in a mass grave in what's called Oakwood Cemetery. Mm-hmm. And then in 1895, an act of Congress, because the Daughters of the Confederacy were enacting statues and monuments everywhere. So there's a Confederate monument in Oakwood Cemetery. But because it's in the cemetery, nobody really gives a shit, because the cemetery is where you honor dead dudes, right?
Right.
It ain't like in front of nobody's elementary school making us all kiss Confederate balls. You know, as we go by every day, gotta salute the dudes that would have shot us in the street as dogs. That sucks, but it's in a cemetery, right? They have the right to rest in peace as everybody else. Still on the south side. How far have we been from O Block, right? How many minutes did you say?
5-8 minutes.
At the most, right? Now we're getting ready to be on the street where United States President's house is. This is probably by number the largest Jewish congregation in the city. And then if you turn around, you'll see a sign that the Secret Service doesn't really want us over here, because that's President and Michelle Barack Obama's house.
They still own it?
Yeah, they still own it and live in it when they're in the city.
No way.
Yeah.
They live here with this little security? I mean, no security's here, but they just have like a little fence.
Well, when they're here, Secret Service is leaning on that fence, so. And I wouldn't doubt that Secret Service is watching those cameras now, right? Like, it's 1,000% that the cameras on their houses are being monitored by Secret Service, 100%.
Okay, so like everything, whenever you put an easy label on it, it's usually not true. Mm-hmm. So South Side is this also.
Oh my goodness.
Which is luxury, beautiful old
$1 million
homes.
houses.
Wow, look at these places. So he lived pretty well here.
His wife was a very well-off corporate lawyer and a professor at University of Chicago. He was an adjunct professor. He had a couple law clients, right? Like, and then the thing, like I just said about Chicago, right? So just take it to scale. If I'm a middle-class dude and I got a decent house, you're a corporate lawyer, dude, you'll have a decent house, right? Because, I mean, right, this and some other places, tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
These things in the 80s were not in the millions at all.
Yeah. What's up, man?
What's going on? Peace, bro. And my kids go to school over here. My wife teaches over here.
Are the schools pretty good over here?
Yeah.
Your wife teaches. What does she teach?
Chemistry. High school chemistry. Sophomores and juniors. Look at that house. It's built for the horses, right? There wasn't no damn cars when they built these mansions. So they got the coach house. They've been converted to garages, but that's where your horse and your horsemen would have lived. The horse in the bottom, coachman up top.
Oh, up there?
Yeah, in the back.
Oh, all the way in the back.
Yeah. And if you walked around the corner in the alley, you see that those coach houses are huge, man. They're like the size of 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom ranch houses.
And so in regards to redlining here.
This was not redlined. There was no redlining.
Right,
They qualified for, so we are in the same city, 8 minutes away, and they qualified for every kind of loan in the world, and 8 minutes away they didn't.
But if you were, I guess it totally depends on the year, but if you're black in 1974 and you had the money,
oh yeah,
you could move in here. You could move in here, no problem.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but before 68, maybe, or it didn't matter.
Even before that, yeah. So Hyde Park had restrictive racial covenants. So two things. First, in this country, we have restrictive covenants, very legal. From the late 1800s to 1940, you can say 80% of the property owners could say, sign on and say, we don't want people who are not of European descent.
Okay.
So then that neighborhood has a covenant. That gets struck down in the Supreme Court in 1949, and then that starts white flight slowly, and that's when black dudes, brown dudes can live anywhere. But before that, if you were black and you bought that house, your neighbor could sue you for breaking the covenant and take ownership.
Pre-49.
Pre-49.
So after 49, if you had the money, you could live anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
It's like old Bavarian architecture. Guys, this is one of the nicer neighborhoods I've seen. It's definitely better than the neighborhood I'm staying in on the north side.
We're always talking about like Chicago doesn't care about itself and they don't care about the south side. People don't care about it, but there's people who live here are going to be picking that trash up all night. And when you come tomorrow, you won't see any of it, even though hours ago there was a parade with thousands of people on it.
Yeah, that's where we were.
My dad was a cop, and my mom always used to say, why did they give that guy a gun? So I made Homer a cop, and then my mom, Marge, right? And this is in Exodus 2012, in honor to them, right? Honor your mother and your father. And of course, the man himself, Tupac. And then as a historian, I capturing history. So this was a day in Atlanta, Nipsey Hussle's album release party. This is that one night in Miami, Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. And then this is the first time Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant played. And that's my fist. And then that's Jay-Z's Black album cover. He's my favorite rapper. That's Ida B. Wells. And Angela Davis is back there too. Yeah, and then of course the Martin Luther King.
Dream.
Yeah, you gotta dream like Martin Luther King. This is the Sankofa bird in African proverbs, right? You see his feet are going forward because he's flying forward. We all should move forward. But he's turned around to plant a seed for the past so that the people from behind him can also fly forward. And so as a historian, that's what I think I do. Like I'm trying to move forward, but every now and again I turn around and drop nuggets of the past so that we're reminded where we are.
So you're always between two worlds then.
Yeah.
You're in the past and in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're a pretty optimistic guy.
Yeah.
You're looking forward.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
But you got to know your history.
Yeah, otherwise you won't get there. It's a South Side Story, right? There are a lot of amazing novels, but there's a particular one called A Tale of Two Cities that really defines us.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it.
Yeah.
It's like extreme one or the other.
Yeah.
Feels like.
Yeah, but overall it's the same, I would say. I've been in impoverished places on the Palestinian side. I've been in impoverished places in Old Jerusalem. I've been in impoverished places in Amsterdam, man. Everybody wants their kids to do better than they did. Everybody wants to go to sleep and wake up with an opportunity, and it's the same on the South Side. So what I most appreciate is that you didn't come here to be exploitive, and you watch YouTube and a dude to drive around Chicago for a whole hour and find nothing that looks nice. That's an impossibility, right? You know what you did was you drove the same 3 blocks 10 times, and that's whack, man. Don't do that. So thank you for at least showing the entirety of the city, right?
Right. Guys, I really want you to go to Dilla's pages, TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are the top 2?
Yep, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on Twitter as long as there's still a Twitter, right? You can catch me at the number 6 FIGGA_DILLA. 6 Figure Dilla.
Okay.
On all platforms.
He's got really cool reels about Chicago, awesome historical knowledge, stuff like we saw today. And you also have tours here if someone's visiting.
Yeah, if you're coming to Chicago and you want to see more than downtown, you can check us out, ChicagoMahogany.com, and book neighborhood tours.
Okay.
Take you all around the city.
Okay, thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That was awesome. Thanks for coming along, guys. Till the next one.